The story I'm about to tell you tonight kept me awake for months. The real face of Dr. Edward Thornfield, whom everyone in Birmingham has trusted and loved for 30 years, is far more horrifying than you could ever imagine. And today, I'm sharing those dark secrets with you. I'm Detective Inspector Helen Parker. I've been working with Birmingham Metropolitan Police for 15 years. I've seen thousands of cases, but none had shaken me like this. Because this time, I wasn't facing just a killer, but a monster who abused trust in the most heinous way possible. Dr. Edward Thornfield. There's no one in Birmingham who hasn't heard this name. Chief surgeon at Queen Elizabeth Hospital, specialist in paediatric cardiac surgery, the city's most respected doctor. He operates on poor families' children for free, makes the largest donations to the hospital charity fund. Every year, he participates in volunteer medical missions to Africa, hosts health programs on local television. But there's a doctor, Edward Thornfield, you don't know. The one who wanders the empty corridors of the hospital at night, targeting vulnerable patients, violating the Hippocratic Oath. And today, I can no longer remain silent. If I don't reveal these truths, they will cost more innocent lives. Let me ask you just one question. Have you ever wondered why some patients are never seen again after visiting Dr. Thornfield? It all started 4 months ago, with suspicious death reports coming from Birmingham Central Hospital. In the last 6 months, 12 of the patients under Dr. Thornfield's care had died unexpectedly. They were aged 18 to 25, all healthy young people who had come for minor surgical procedures. Our first case was Jenny Morrison. 19 years old, came to the hospital for appendicitis surgery, died 3 days later due to complications. Her family suspected something and requested a second autopsy. When I examined the autopsy report, my blood ran cold. Jenny's body contained high doses of potassium chloride that shouldn't have been there. This substance can be used for medical purposes, but this amount was lethal. The second case was even more suspicious. Mark Stevens, 22 years old, had come for simple eye surgery. The operation was successful, but he died the next day from a heart attack. A heart attack in a 22-year-old athlete? While examining the files, I discovered a horrifying pattern. All these young people had one thing in common. They were alone. Orphanage graduates, without families, the type no one would come looking for. And all their surgeries had been performed by Dr. Edward Thornfield. When we put Thornfield under surveillance, we discovered interesting things. Outside his official working hours, he would go to the hospital late at night, performing private surgeries when no one could see. A detail found by PC Michael Clark from our surveillance team was very important. Dr. Thornfield had a second identity, Professor David Richmond. With this identity, he operated a private research clinic called Richmond Research Centre, officially appearing to conduct experimental medical research. But in reality, this clinic was being used for completely different purposes. The documents we obtained during our covert investigation contained shocking truths. The research conducted at Richmond Research Centre was actually experimental organ transplant operations performed on young people. Dr. Thornfield, using the David Richmond identity, was transplanting organs taken from young people to wealthy elderly patients. Kidney, liver, heart, and we now knew where he was getting these organs. When we accessed the clinic's secret records, I felt nauseous. There was a file called Donor List. This list contained the names, ages, organ compatibility information, and status. Notes of 23 young people. The status notes read, Harvest completed, 12th of May 2024. Organs viable, 28th of July 2024. Disposal confirmed, 15th of September 2024. These cold, medically masked notes were actually documenting systematic murders. Thornfield was selecting young patients, calling them to the hospital for simple surgeries, then harvesting their organs and selling them to wealthy clients. The most horrifying detail was the client list. Elderly millionaires, politicians, celebrities, all applying to Dr. Thornfield for the elixir of youth. A kidney transplant cost £300,000, heart transplant £500,000. These operations were performed 2 to 3 times a month. The breakthrough came from nurse Lisa Campbell. She had been working with Dr. Thornfield for 8 years and could no longer bear what she was seeing. "Inspector Parker," she said, trembling, "I've never been so frightened working with Dr. Thornfield. At first, I just found it strange. Some patients would disappear after surgery. He'd say they were transferred to another hospital, but there were no transfer records." What Lisa told us was horrifying. Dr. Thornfield performed special surgeries during night shifts with only a few people he trusted. In these surgeries, patients would go in but never come out. "One night, I overcame my curiosity and looked into the operating room," said Lisa. "Doctor?" Thornfield was removing a kidney from a young girl. The girl was unconscious, but she was still breathing. He was harvesting organs from living people. The audio files Lisa had recorded on her phone were evidence. Dr. Thornfield's conversations with clients. "Yes, I found a healthy 20-year-old heart, a positive blood type, perfect match for you, operation tomorrow night." Dr. Thornfield wasn't working alone. There was a complete underground network in Birmingham. This network extended from the hospital to the morgue to the fire department. Morgue worker Peter Walsh was making corpses disappear and secretly disposing of them. Ambulance driver David Miller was transporting living patients to David Richmond's clinic under the guise of transfers. Hospital security manager Alan Foster was manipulating security cameras. The most shocking connection was in the coroner's office. Dr. Margaret Thompson was writing false official death reports. She would show causes like natural death, heart attack, complication. She was covering up deaths that were actually murders. The financial dimension of this network was terrifying. In the last 3 years, they had obtained approximately £15 million in income. The money was kept in hidden accounts in Swiss banks. The stories of Thornfield's victims were heartbreaking. They were all young people full of dreams who had gone to the hospital for minor health problems and never returned. Emma Richardson was a 21-year-old nursing student. She had applied to Dr. Thornfield for a minor meniscus tear. They had said simple arthroscopy. Emma disappeared after surgery. James Connor was a 19-year-old football player. He had come for a shoulder injury, and they said the operation was successful, but he was transferred to another hospital. James's family called and asked months later, but there was no record of him at any hospital. Sophie Martin was a 23-year-old art student. She'd come for gallstone surgery and died due to complications. Her family suspected something and hired a lawyer, but all documents appeared legal. The common point of these young people wasn't just their age. They were all perfect candidates for organ transplantation, young, healthy, with limited social circles. After gathering sufficient evidence, we planned a trap operation. We used 22-year-old PC Sarah Williams as an undercover agent. Sarah applied to Dr. Thornfield with a fake identity for a meniscus problem. When Dr. Thornfield looked at Sarah, our team that saw the gleam in his eyes was disturbed. He gave Sarah an appointment for urgent surgery 3 days later. "This is a young and healthy patient. We must intervene immediately," he had said. But Sarah's problem was minor enough to be solved with a simple MRI. On the night of the operation, we saw Dr. Thornfield's true face. After taking Sarah to the operating room, he was preparing to anaesthetize her and harvest her organs. Just then, the operation began. November 28th, 2024, 23:30 hours. Birmingham Metropolitan Police's largest medical crime operation began. Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Richmond Research Centre, and Dr. Thornfield's house were raided simultaneously. The discoveries at Queen Elizabeth Hospital were horrifying. Dr. Thornfield had prepared PC Sarah Williams on the operating table for organ harvesting. If we hadn't intervened at the last minute, it would have cost Sarah her life. What we found at Richmond Research Centre was even more terrifying. Secret operating rooms, organ preservation tanks, fake patient records, and worst of all, a stock warehouse consisting of organs from 8 young people. When Dr. Thornfield was captured, he showed no signs of remorse. "I was serving in the name of science," he defended himself. "These young people couldn't contribute to society. At least they benefited valuable people with their organs." After Dr. Thornfield's capture, the entire network began to unravel. Thanks to Lisa Campbell's courageous testimony, 15 more people were arrested. The network extending from hospital staff to administrators, from morgue workers to ambulance drivers, was completely exposed. Everyone was getting their share. Everyone was staying silent. Coroner Dr. Margaret Thompson revealed shocking details in her confession. "Dr. Thornfield gave me £10,000 for each false report. I wrote 47 fake death reports in 3 years. Hospital security manager Alan Foster. Deleting camera records, organising fake transfers. I received £5,000 for each operation." After the truth came out, the pain of victim families increased even more. 28 families' children had died at Dr. Thornfield's hands. They all thought it was medical complications, but in reality, they had been murdered. Emma Richardson's mother, Mary. "My daughter wanted to be a doctor. She dreamed of healing people, and she was murdered by a doctor." James Connor's father, Robert. "My son was working to be selected for the national team. His life was taken at the hospital he went to for a minor injury. The most painful part was that these families had trusted Dr. Thornfield. He had been recommended as the best doctor, and they had entrusted their children to his hands with peace of mind. Today, Dr. Edward Thornfield is being tried for 28 separate murders, organ trafficking, and medical abuse. The prosecutor is requesting 28 life sentences, but the real reckoning is happening in the social conscience. The fact that a doctor who had been trusted and loved for 30 years had committed such systematic murders had shaken everyone. Thanks to Nurse Lisa Campbell's courage, many more young lives were saved. She lives in a safe place under witness protection program. "I don't regret it," says Lisa. "If I hadn't spoken up, many more young people would have been killed, maybe even my own children." This case deeply shook Birmingham's medical community. New security protocols began to be implemented in hospitals. All death cases are being examined by independent experts. Dr. Thornfield's story ends here. But questions continue. How many more Thornfields are there in the system? How many of the doctors we trust are committing secret murders? The most important lesson of this story is this: evil sometimes hides behind the most unexpected faces. It can only be stopped when brave people expose it. Remember, sometimes the most trustworthy-looking people are the most dangerous ones, and there is no escape from justice. Let us know in the comments. What would you do if you were Lisa Campbell? Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell for more shocking true crime stories.